Let us know when you're ready. You're going to be good? All right. All right. Well, we'll call the meeting to order. We'll stand and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, good evening, everybody. Good, nice summer evening for us. So, just like to go over our mission and vision statement. Our vision is inspiring all learners to be engaged and successful. Our mission to provide an enriching environment to meet the needs of all learners, and our core values of respect, integrity, students first, and excellence. As we remember those as we go through our agenda tonight. And now, speaking of agendas, we need approval of the agenda. I don't believe there's been any changes.
No.
So moved. Thank you, Jay. Do we have a second?
Second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. No hearing of delegates. We'll then move into the consent items you should have all received in your board packet. I can tell you I looked over the invoices today, and all in, as usual, in great order, and all the invoices had, or every bill had an invoice. So, and Mary Beth's got the extra invoices right here, and I was able to go through them also.
So we're in the process of closing up the year, which takes a little bit of time to wrap some things up, even some revenue to come in, and also with this year we will claim some ESSER funds back. So there is some movement still that has to happen. ESSER funds don't come in cash form. We claim back for expenses. So there'll be some expenses that get reimbursed as we continue that process of claims.
Will that show up on fiscal year 21 or 22?
Both. ESSER $2 show up on 21. And all ESSER 3 is, do we have some ESSER 2 and 22 also? You can, but I don't know if we do.
Yeah, it's going to show up as both just because it will be in FY '22 since it's July, but that's the gap thing where we put it back into
Okay.
21, so you'll see it in both.
Okay.
It'll be the revenue for 21,
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
but it'll show a receipt in 22. It's kind of confusing, I'm sorry.
It's one of those.
Yeah. We'll have our ESSER $2 all spent. Right now, they
Yeah,
are all
they
spent.
are all spent.
So now we're into the ESSER 3, which is that final large chunk that we'll spend over the next 2 years.
So the cash in bank is lower. Is that because of the end of the year thing?
We don't have it, open enrollment, special ed, tuition is still coming in, Title I, Title II,
Yeah.
Title IV, ESSER money, so we have a lot of money still coming in.
A lot of revenues yet to come. If you actually look at the revenue expenditures, where our revenues are always higher every month, right now they're not. But that's like that at every July meeting. If you go back and look through the years, and then that balances out as all those things come in.
I do have a question. Did we have a large ceiling project in Bertha?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
What rooms were those, or how much of the school was that?
And then we put the
Yeah, they
lights in
lowered
also.
the ceiling.
Yep, put the drop ceiling in, and also put those, the same LED lights in that we have, which we get a pretty large rebate back for those also.
That's why there's always been so many big light bills. Because I've always commented
Yeah,
on the light bills.
Crescent, Dwight Electric. Any other questions? All right, I need a motion then to approve consent items.
So moved.
Thanks, Todd. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Gloria. A motion and a second to approve the consent item. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Move into the superintendent's report.
Our summer sports teams are winding down. Our softball team played their regional play last Tuesday, July 6th at Sheldon, and lost that game. Really competed well all year. They had 8 one-run games this year. So a lot of close games also. Our baseball team opens up tournament play this Friday, July 16th at home versus Clear Lake. So the summer sports are starting to conclude. We are going to have a job fair at Algona Community Schools on August 2nd. That will be in the high school commons area from 5 to 7. We still have 6 or 7 teacher associate positions that are open. We had we had some retirees, some people who left the district, so we're working hard. We did not have a lot of applicants. We posted electronically, used social media. We did get 8 applicants that way, so that was really effective. And we're going to do the same thing with the job fair. We're going to blast that out electronically. It'll also be in the newspaper, also be on KLGA. Really get a whole bunch of people in. It will not only be for teacher associates, it'll also be for full-time food service, as well as sub-teacher associates and sub-bus drivers. And we have those are positions that have full-time benefits, have 6 paid holidays, have 12 personal illness days, 3 personal days per year. You can get 6 weeks of maternity leave. So, stuff I think are, they're good jobs for people, and we want to make sure everyone's aware of those jobs and what they do offer as well. So we're hoping good things from our job fair on August 2nd. Our School Improvement Advisory Council hasn't met. It didn't meet last year, and in our transition year when I came, it hadn't met. So we're bringing that group back. We're going to have our first SIAC meeting on August 9th, it'll be held right before the board meeting from 5 to 6:30. We have a number of different things on the agenda. We're going to talk about our ESSER 3 dollars and our ESSER 3 usage, which ours is almost all towards lost educational, lost achievement. We're putting it right back to the kids. We've got interventionists in place, the IJAG program in place, our youth service worker in place. So ours is pretty easy in where it's going, and I think that's a good place for it to go. I think that's the right place for those things to occur. We'll talk about our current performance profile, and then what we have from our assessment scores from last spring. Talk about the project, which is going really well. We're on course for substantial completion. August 16th with the Gateway project. The softball field will be completed after that, so we can talk about that. And then we want to roll out our new school app to our people and help anyone who comes put it on their phone, show how they can sign up for alerts and notifications from the district or buildings, and just start the process of getting that out to our communities. So looking forward to that advisory group, and that's really important. That's a group to kind of close the gap, make connections with our community, with our parents, with our staff, and help to make goals and decisions for the district. And the last thing with the building project, like I said, it is moving along very well. There's some additional drainage that we're going to need to look at in the softball field. There is drainage on the field surface itself, like through the outfield, through the infield. There's new drainage that is being put in. We're a little bit nervous about the areas outside the field. The biggest one would be right directly between the baseball field and the new softball field. There's a low area, plus the new sidewalk. It's almost kind of pooled and ponded right there. So putting an intake in there is something that could help. We have the same situation up in the northwest corner, which is all grass. So they're working on some possibilities and ways to resolve that, which would come in an upcharge, which we haven't seen yet, but I'll bring that to you guys and we can talk about if that's what we want to do.
We can surely see all that taking shape out there.
Yeah, it looks really good. Looks really good. The building's up. The steel structure is completely up. A lot of the wood studs inside are up. We're finishing up concrete work right now, and it's really starting to take shape.
Sure is. Okay, any other questions?
Just a real quick question.
Yep.
When you mentioned the SIAC committee, when is our next site visit?
Well, they don't come to districts anymore. So every fall, there's things that we provide for them. So you really have mini site visits every year now. whether it's board policies or agendas, your schedules, or your course offerings, all that stuff is actually done every year now. So where you used to have, make sure you had to have your SIAC meetings taking place, for site visits, those don't happen the same way. They'll just refer to minutes, refer to agendas, from your SIAC meetings and so on, and they do it that way.
Very good.
Any other questions? All right, we'll move right on to new business and their increased substitute teacher associate rates.
It's been over 5 years. Mary Beth and I went back, we got to 5 years and didn't continue since our substitute teacher associate rate has been increased. It does need to be something we want to look at. I would make the proposal to increase that rate to $10 an hour from the current rate of $9.70, so that would be a 3% increase from where we're currently at. Those are really good people that we want to continue to have come in our district and pay them a fair rate when they do. I think it's a rate that also probably needs to be looked at during negotiations again next year as well. But I would make the recommendation to increase our sub-teacher associate rate from $9.70 an hour to $10 an hour for next year.
Any further discussion? All right.
Motion to approve that.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Gloria. We have a motion and a second to increase the sub-teacher associate rate paid to $10 per hour. Any other further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And now we're going to talk about the substitute teacher rate.
Yes, and it has also been over 5 years since our substitute teacher rate has been increased. Currently, our sub-teacher rate is $105 per day. I would make the proposal to increase that to $115 per day. Finding substitute teachers, it is difficult. We have some good ones in the district, really good ones that do a wonderful job for us. We want to keep those people coming, and again offer them a fair rate like the sub-teacher associate. So I would make the recommendation to increase the sub rate from $105 a day to $115 a day.
And does that keep us in the?
We're pretty close there, yeah, pretty close. You probably have a range anywhere from 100 to 130 in the conference. So we would be right in the middle of that.
Okay, do we have a motion then to increase the sub-teacher pay to $115 per day?
And make a motion to increase substitute teacher rate to $115 per day, fiscal year 2022.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Todd. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we need to appoint 2021-22 Secretary, Treasurer, and School Business Official.
We do have a number of appointments in tonight's meeting. The first one, I would recommend appointing Mary Beth Cooper as our 2021-2022 Board Secretary, Treasurer, and School Business Official. We need to include those three because we have to have a School Business Official. This is an appointment that is done annually and will be Mary Beth's last appointment to these positions.
Yes, that's what I was thinking too.
Make the motion to appoint Mary Beth for the Secretary, Treasurer, and School Board, and School Business Official.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Gloria. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Appointment carries, or motion carries. Mary Beth, I think now I need to swear you in. At least that's what I believe this book is in front of me for. So, Mary Beth, do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and that you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties of the office of Secretary, Treasurer, and School Business Official in the Algona Community School District as now or hereafter required by law?
I will.
Thank you. Thank you again, Mary Beth, for all the years. One more at least. All right. Looking at another appointment, legal counsel.
I recommend appointing Steve Avery as our legal counselor for the 2021-2022 school year. Again, an annual appointment. Mr. Avery has been the school district's legal counsel for some time, and I would recommend him again.
definitely a long time, so. Need a motion to appoint Steve Avery.
Make a motion to
Thank
appoint.
you, Lori. Gloria, do we have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Jay. We have a motion and a second to appoint Steve Avery as our legal counsel for our district. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And now, approve the 21-22 bank depository resolution.
Another annual resolution, the Algona Community School District would approve district funds in amounts not to exceed the maximum approved for each respective financial institution as we have up there. And in your general information, I have the motion as well. Iowa State Bank in Algona, Iowa for $5 million. Farmers State Bank in Algona for $5 million. Northwest Bank in Algona for $5 million. And UMB in Des Moines in the amount of $15 million.
All right. Any questions? It's kind of something we've done annually too, so.
Yes.
Fairly standard. Need a motion then to approve the bank depository resolution.
Do I need to read it all of this?
I think you can just make the motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was in green, so sometimes I make a motion to approve the stated depositories.
Yep.
Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thanks, Don. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, F, to review the IASB platform. I know we were sent out something earlier.
Yep, last week I sent out the Iowa Association of School Board document that lists the beliefs and the resolutions for the Iowa Association of School Boards. There's some questions to think about. Are the issues in the platform currently that we want them to address, or are there others? Are there different items that we want represented? And then, what our priorities are. I listed 4 priorities in your general information that would positively impact our district. And the first would be supplemental state aid. Looking at supplemental state aid, a rate that would support school districts. For the last 11 years, the supplemental state aid has an average of a little over 2%. That's really tough. That's tough for school districts to survive at that level. And then also that supplemental state aid is approved on time, which it has not been. It was not last year, and it hasn't been for a number of years. So that would be number one. The second one is market competitive wages. This supports providing school districts with incentives and the flexibility to pay market competitive wages for shortage area positions. We've done some of that. We've offered some signing bonuses for shortage areas in the district over the last 2 years. Again, that's only going to get tougher. I talked to a superintendent in the region today. He's got 2 high school positions open. He's offered $10,000 signing bonuses for both and hasn't hired them yet. So the teacher shortage in Iowa, you guys have heard me say it a lot, but it's real, it's here, and it's very, very close to impacting kids, and that's what we don't want. Having an incentive that allows us to hire people in those hard to find areas would be beneficial, especially in rural Iowa like we are. Teacher recruitment and licensure. This supports additional tools to attract individuals into the teaching profession, especially in teacher shortage areas, including alternative teacher licensure. Our district benefited for this for next year. We hired a business teacher who had a business degree background, and we're able to bring that experience into our classroom to work with our kids. Without that, there's not a lot of applicants in that field. Industrial tech would be similar to that, and as well as many others. So I think, again, exploring those different recruitment and licensure things is important. With that, I think comes your retired teachers, where currently they have to have their bona fide retirement for so many days, and then they can only make so much. Well, what that does in the end in rural Iowa is it limits good people from putting in front of our kids. And that's really what we want. We want the best teachers available to put in front of our kids. And the last one is special education at the state level, where we run in a special education deficit annually, as do most school districts in the state of Iowa, and that's just simply because the weighting for a special education student does not cover the supports needed for those children. And that's only going to continue to grow. The deficit's only going to continue to grow. The result then is increased taxes for those cash dollars to replace that. So at some point we need to look at that. Those are 4 priorities that would positively impact us in Algona, in our district.
So with those alternative licensure options, are there requirements, because, I mean, there's a knack to teaching.
You bet there is, yeah.
I mean, you could have the brightest mathematical scholar, but if they can't get that method across to the students, they're gonna fail as a teacher.
Yeah.
And so what are some requirements beyond having a math degree to be able to teach high school math?
Math does not fall into one of those.
Okay.
You would have to have a math teaching. If we used industrial technology, for example, you would have to have a bachelor's degree in the field, plus about the equivalency of about 4 years of full-time experience. That would allow you to have the alternative licensure in industrial technology. Business education would be similar to that. In business education, the fields you're working in would have to align to the classes that you're teaching. So for example, if you weren't working as an accountant and you didn't have an accounting degree, you couldn't come in and teach accounting. That would be separate licensure for that.
Are there classes they have to take to?
There's some pedagogy stuff
Okay,
that then,
yeah.
yep, there's some pedagogy stuff that then they blend in over the next 3 years.
And then do those fall under the regular 529 teaching contract regulations?
Yes, yeah. So I think Todd, I think you're right. As a licensed educator, I don't just believe anyone can come in and teach our kids. I believe that, and I think that's something, you take pride in. But giving us opportunities to bring people that we feel good about in, I think, is where these things are beneficial to us and beneficial to a district like Algona, and beneficial to all of rural Iowa to give us other opportunities in these shortage areas.
Good question.
I have a question with the one that we hired with, that we just hired last month.
Yep.
To do the.
Business?
Like the mental health.
Yes,
Is that with ESSER dollars?
that is.
So it's only 2-year, and hopefully to stay longer at
Yep,
some point.
I would agree with that, yep.
I guess I would like to see one of our areas to consider at some point is the mental health too, that could become like one of the.
Yeah, it was.
To become a funding stream.
Yeah.
That we can continue to keep.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Gloria, and I probably would always put that in our top 4. But there was a few things done, including the use of ESSER dollars towards that allow us, I think, in the short term to do that. But I would agree with you. I think a mental health funding in the funding formula, similar to preschool and so on, is something that needs to happen. And I really think will, and I hope it does.
So just keep that in mind.
Yes, yeah.
Any more discussion? All right, we would need then a motion to.
If we are comfortable with those 4 as our priorities, that would need a motion and approval, and then we will submit those to the IASB.
Make a motion to accept those 4 priorities to send to the ISB, or IASB.
Is there a second? Thanks, Jay.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Gloria. We have a motion and a second to send the 4 we discussed to the IASB platform. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We'll go through now some general improvements of handbooks.
Yeah, and we can put our 5 elementary handbooks together. That would be the elementary parent handbook, the preschool parent handbook, and the preschool staff handbook, and then the elementary staff handbook. So we can put those, there are no changes in those handbooks that are not staffing or dates.
Okay, so we need then approve a motion to approve all the elementary handbooks as listed in item G.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, thanks, Gloria.
Second that.
And Jay seconds it. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to the middle school handbook.
Updates made throughout the middle school handbook are, we removed language talking about alternative lunches and lunch accounts being suspended. That's on page 4. Second change in the handbook is we added language to reflect our core values, respect and integrity in the classroom and expectations. And number 3, we removed the open gym section referring to before school because they handle that differently now. And then the 4th change is updated schedules to reflect the new schedule, not the block scheduling that they had this last year. So I would make a recommendation to approve those changes in the middle school handbook.
So moved.
Thanks, Jay. Do we have a second?
Second motion.
Thanks, Tom. We have a motion and a second to approve the middle school handbook with the updates as spoke. Any further discussion?
With the lunches, was that?
That is not legal to do anymore.
Okay. All right, any further comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. And now we move to the high school handbook.
Changes in the high school handbook, like the elementary, are only names and dates. There are no other changes.
All right. Just need a motion then to approve the high school handbook.
Make a motion.
Thanks, Gloria. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thanks. Todd, we have a motion and a second to approve the high school handbook. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And we go through a bunch more appointments.
Bunch of appointments.
Start with the equity coordinator.
Again, an annual appointment. I recommend we appoint James Rodert as the equity coordinator for this school year. Mr. Rodert has served as that role in the past. We streamlined most of these appointments last year into that. Most of them lie with me, which is good. That's where they should. There's a few of them we separate out to have equity and that they have some training in those. So this is one of those.
So moved. Thanks, Jay. Do we have a second?
Second motion.
Thanks, Tom. We have a set motion and a second to approve the equity coordinator. Any discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Level 1 child abuse investigator.
Another annual appointment, I would recommend myself for this appointment for the 21-22 school year. I held this appointment last year as well.
We need a motion for the level 1 child abuse investigator.
Make the motion to appoint level 1 child abuse investigator.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Todd. We have a motion and a second then to approve Joe as the level 1 child abuse investigator. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to level 2 child abuse investigator.
Another annual appointment, I recommend we appoint the Algona Police Department as the level 2 child abuse investigator for the 21-22 school year. I talked to Interim Chief Bo Miller about this last week. This is an appointment that they have held previously as well.
Yep.
So moved.
Thanks, Dee. Do we have a second?
Okay.
All right, we have a motion and a second for the level 2 child abuse investigator. Any discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Appoint the harassment investigator.
I again recommend myself for the appointment of the harassment investigator for the 2021-2022 school year. I held this appointment last year as well.
All right, do we have a motion?
Motion to appoint Mr. Carter harassment investigator fiscal year 2022.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, thank you, Todd. Motion and second, or any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Appoint the 504 ADA coordinator.
Another annual appointment. We have a number of people for this appointment. I recommend myself for all all four of the building principals, as they're directly tied to these things. Mr. Cecil, Mr. Rodert, Mrs. Schucher, and Mr. Sudol for this appointment for FY '22. This appointment was held by all of the principals last year.
So moved.
Thanks, Todd. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Lori. We have a motion and a second then for the 504 ADA coordinators. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Affirmative action coordinator.
Another annual appointment, I recommend myself for the appointment of the Affirmative Action Coordinator. This is an appointment I held last year also.
We have a motion. Thank you. Jay, do we have a second?
Second motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second for the Affirmative Action Coordinator. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'll appoint the Homeless Coordinator.
In our final appointment, another annual appointment, I recommend Jill Schucher as our Homeless Coordinator for the 2021-2022 school year. Mrs. Schucher has held this appointment in the past. She has went through the required training for this position.
Also,
Thank you. Lori, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Where'd you get Mary Beth? Jay, we'll call
Jay.
him. All right. All right, we have a motion and a second to approve Mrs. Schucher as Homeless Coordinator. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Approve some fundraising requests.
Board policy requires that all fundraising that involves our students and/or our staff to be approved by myself or a designee. Oftentimes, that would be the activities director or building principal. If the fundraising activity generates more than $2,500, then it needs your guys' approval prior. So we do have, I think, about 8 of these on here, and we can approve these at as a whole. But I will list these. We have our football value card. The proceeds are about $12,000. Those proceeds are used for new pads, jerseys, pants, reconditioning of our helmets and our shoulder pads for the middle school and the high school level. We also have our middle school band chocolate bars. Our estimated profits are $6,750. That money is used for tickets for Adventureland Festival of Bands, as well as some supplies and instruments. The Bertha Godfrey cookie dough sales, about a $5,000 profit there. Those proceeds this year will be used for improvements on the playground, specifically to add more spinners to that playground. The Bryant Elementary Red Wheel sales, around $2,000. We put that one in there because it could be a little bit more. Those proceeds also to add swings, a new climber, and finish some of the mulching in the playground. The middle school Cherrydale fundraiser, about $7,500 net profits. The money is used for the mini courses that we use in the middle school in the spring, as well as the 7th grade retreat in the fall, other field trips, roller skating rental, and some recess equipment. And then our last three are all Algona High School FFA. First, we have the fruit and cheese and sausage sales, about $15,000 profits from those. That's used for state and national conventions. We have the FFA pancake feed, about $8,000 in profits that are used to benefit the local FFA chapter, and then the FFA plant sale, around $3,500 estimated proceeds that are also used for the local chapter.
All ones we're kind of used to seeing each year.
Yeah, those are traditional. There isn't anything new in there that hasn't been done.
And is this something that if band or choir wants to do something later, we can?
Yep, we can add.
It's now or never, it's.
Nope, we can certainly add, yep.
Yep.
These are just ones we know will occur, so we can put them all out there now.
Okay.
So move to approve the fundraising request that we know.
A motion by Jay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Todd. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Move into open enrollment.
We have 2 open enrollment requests. These are both open enrollment out of the district. These students would be freshmen. They are applying to open enroll from the Algona Community School District to the Humboldt School District. The family feels it would be in the best interest of the children. For that to happen, I do recommend the approval of these applications.
So moved.
All right, thanks, Todd. Do we have a second? So we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. All right, new contracts, which are always nice to see.
Yeah, we have 7 new contracts. Jennifer Adams for prom sponsor. William Phillips for the middle school social studies. That is a 2-year contract that's paid out of ESSER dollars. Nathan Worsfold for high school social studies. This position is replacing Ryan King. Amber Becker, teacher associate at Lucia Wallace. Heather Kohlhaus, teacher associate at Garrigan. Jake Adams as assistant football. That's replacing the Ryan King resignation. And then Brian Connick, 8th grade girls basketball, replacing Molly Henderson, who had resigned earlier.
Ryan King, didn't he teach part-time high school, part-time middle school?
Yep, so we hired that position back for high school social studies. In the middle school, part of that interventionist, we're hiring a social studies teacher to spread that out. We do know between that and the middle school interventionist that will just be one position after the ESSER dollars.
Because weren't we looking for a part-time math or something for middle school too?
Yep. We do not have that math interventionist, part-time math yet, but we think we'll have something in place. And between the two of those, that 2.0, that will be a 1.0 after the ESSER dollars.
Good question.
Yeah.
So is that the only teacher position that we're missing yet?
Yes.
All right, any further questions or discussion? Okay, hearing none, need a motion then for the new contracts.
Make a motion to accept the new contracts.
Thanks, Gloria. Do we have a second?
Second motion.
Thanks, Tom. We have a motion and a second to approve new contracts. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And then we go into resignations.
We have 1 resignation this month, Lori Thiessen from food service.
So moved.
Thanks, Jay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thanks. We have a motion and a second to accept the resignation of Lori Thiessen. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we are at 9. We just had a lot of appointments today. Things moved along pretty quick, so we need a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Thanks, Todd. Do we have a second?
I will second that.
Thanks, Jay. We have a motion and a second for adjournment. We are adjourned.
All right.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone.
guys.
So where are we at with the strength and conditioning?
We have an interview Wednesday morning at 8 with
Thank you back there with the
Andy,
camera.
Jared, myself, and he's got a number of head coaches.
Is that, did we get a few guys for that?
Well, when we started the process, we had 2. One of them took a different job, so it's just 1.